Happy July 4th, everybody. Oh, what a great day to tell a story. Then we got to do a week 8. We had 8 weeks in the garden now. Finished 8. So we got to get out there and take a look at that too. You know, I really thought they would have been more upset over the hailstorm. But, they really bounced back. So testimony to them, and we'll take a look at that here in just a little bit. July 4th, though, as far back as I can remember, would have been the late 50s, early 60s. I grew up in southern Minnesota. In southern Minnesota, it seemed like half the people were German and half were Norwegian. So I'm half German and half Norwegian. I don't know if I should count or clean. Got some issues that way. The Norwegians, of course, have got a little funny bone. This is why it becomes humorous when you ask why recently they decided to put UPC codes on the side of all of the Norwegian naval vessels coming back in. And that was so they could Scandinavian. Anyway, so half German, half Norwegian. On July 4th, on that side of the family, my dad, that is, there was 13 kids, 8 boys. Whew. Big family. I have 67 first cousins all together. A clan. But we used to go over to a nearby town where one of my uncles would be in charge of the festivals there, or at least the baking part, because they would dig a huge, long trench and put coals in it. And then I know they did chicken. I imagine they did other meats too in there, but I mean, we're talking enough to feed a town of a couple thousand or something, big thing. A lot of trench, a lot of hot coals, a lot of stuff. And they put this meat in there like, I don't know, it seems to me like it would even be a day or something ahead of time. And then they would bury it with dirt, cover up the hot coals and the meat in there and bury it in dirt. And then come back in a day and open it up and it'd all be cooked to perfection. You would have never had such good food. And it was all done in trenches. I'm sure somebody's got to have done something on that sometime. Needs to be a YouTube video on that. How people used to cook in trenches back in the day for big crowds. Anyway, that was the German side. But at that particular festival, the evening then would commence with some festivities before the fireworks, and one of those is some farmer would bring a pig, pretty good sized pig, not anything little, pretty good size, and they would proceed to put Vaseline over the entire pig. I mean, just really grease it up. And then there was some kind of an attractive prize. I better turn the light back on here if we can get there we go. For the person then that once they turn that pig loose inside of a pen area, that people would start chasing around and try to catch that pig. And hold on to it, and you had to pick it up and bring it, saying, well, you couldn't. The thing was so slippery. Now, I didn't try that. That didn't look like something for me. So I didn't do that. But every year, somebody'd finally get that pig and win something. It was kind of bad in a way, poor pigs. But that's what was going on back then in the late 50s, early 60s for fireworks celebrations in southern Minnesota, particular town. Anyway, then they would have the fireworks and the oohs and ahs, and everybody would go home with about 1,000 mosquito bites and then call it a good night. So anyway, happy 4th of July. You get to be a certain age, and when somebody said you're going to go look at fireworks, I said, yeah, I've seen them just about every one. We were downtown Minneapolis one year at Harriet Island with the family and everything, and they were blowing them off right up above us. I mean, that's as close as I've ever been. And they had some of the big boom ones. And those, they were just shaking the interior of my body. I was crazy. It was like somebody was tickling me. All was nuts. We're going to go out and check the garden out next and look around and see how everything is doing. All right, let's make our way out of the garage. Here we go. Kind of a warm day today. Summer, Maybe getting some rain later. Oh, by the way, There is a wren. It's been occupying this little structure up there. It's very, very quiet. Shh, shh, shh. I hope I haven't bothered it too much and that it disappeared, but because I haven't seen it for a while. But you can see it's been in there. Oh, I don't know. I'm nervous about that one, but I can only do so much, you know. Ooh, she's bright back here. Oh, there's a little house finch on there. Hi, there he goes. They're pretty tame. Look at these potatoes, would you? Oh, what's this? What is that we see there? Potato flower. They're all starting to get flowers on them. At some point, some place, the flowers are coming. So these things have just gone ape. And they are doing really, really, really good. I mean, they're humongous. This is nuts. The fertilizer's kicking in. A little flower there. And then this perennial called the cornflower is in our cage, still standing up after storm and a lot of rain, and it's still standing. Would have been on the ground by now. The cage is doing its job. Cucumbers. Think we can find any? Got it ready? I don't know. We have to kind of get in and look a little bit here later. Let's see. You can hide a little bit. You gotta kind of get in there and take a good look. They don't just stand, they hide. They get under a leaf and stuff and hide. I got some nice ones off of there already. 3 of them. But they're coming. See all the flowers? And then, there. You got some little cumbers coming in there. A bunch down lower too. You can still see where that hail beat up these leaves from this hailstorm. But otherwise, still no blight. So we're really fortunate about that. And there's that. I think we'll go around and get inside. It's dry enough in there that I can walk around. I have to do some watering again today. I'm probably not holding this camera very good for you. Let's get in here and see what we got. Tomato plants. There's the first one. Lots of tomatoes coming. Lots of flowers. Very happy. You want to pull back here on. Nice ones here too. A lot of flowers, plants getting really big. Tomatoes in there. You can see them if you can. It's so bright, it's hard for me to see. Well, they all have them. Everybody's got some tomatoes in here. So a nice job on the tomatoes. Look at the dill is coming. Even starting to make some tops on it there a little bit. Threw some fertilizer on them the other day. Oh, these potatoes, it's hard to believe. I really have them mounded up in there a lot. Makes a big difference, and we should have a lot of potatoes this year. If you get down, you can see how much I got mounded up here of dirt and stuff. So I dug a hole, put the potato plant or the stuff in there, put just a little dirt on it, and then when the signs of first growth, I put straw over it, like a fair amount of it, and then when I came up through that, I mounded up dirt on that, but left that little plant sticking up kind of, but started mounding dirt, and then I put some more straw later on after that, and then I put more dirt. So I probably 4 times done some hilling on this between straw and dirt. I've seen some people just grow them just in straw, but this should keep the potatoes up higher, and not only that, they should pull out kind of clean too. This is really loamy in here. It's very loose, so very nice. And the onions, got some coming here that are going to be okay. This end here where they get the most sun, I think they're going to be, I'll get some in here, but down the other end they get less sun down there through the day. And I think it's going to be, those aren't going to be quite as good. So that's how the garden grows. Let's get out of here. Oh yeah. Well, back outside. Check out those planters. I can't see because it's so bright on my screen here, but I'm just going to sit down and look at them and talk about it. Are they not nice or what? The little lady and I threw those together in those big pots this year, and they were little tiny plants when we put them in there. And now look at them. Aren't they cute? Well, I mean, we're just full of ourselves about them, you know. So there you are. I had to get you out here for that. And then the coleus, of course. They are, I mean, you put some fertilizer on these guys and they'll go. Wow, I see a little job. You got to get these seed heads off of the top here. Otherwise, she's going to want to go to seed, and you don't want that. Want them to keep growing for a while here. They don't all do that, but the ones that do, I'm going to take that little flower head off of there so that they'll redirect their energy back to making leaves. There. These guys, look at the hail did to these too. They even got over here. Wow. Wasn't a good storm. Is there ever a good hailstorm? I don't think so, but. All right. Well, here's hoping you all have a good day. Or had a good day. By the time you see this, maybe you already will have had that, you know. I was never a big one for getting too livated, you might say, on the 4th, or any day for that matter, but not the 4th either. So pretty much a homebody, you know, these days. That happens when you get older. They say that. You get over 70, you get a bit nervous when you lose sight of the water tower. Yeah. No, I don't know. It's I always think, you know, that everybody ought to kind of seek the level of the thing that they like best. I kind of like hanging out at the house, you know, taking care of the garden, the fish, you know, doing whatever. To me, that's kind of fun. I was never really big on running all over the place, doing all this and that. And we still get some of that done anyway. And then there's another bug bothering me. The only other thing, I guess, is could be confession time, because I think it's been over 50 years now, so the statute of limitations, although I didn't do anything wrong, but this would have been back in high school, about 1971. I happened to have been in a crowd that was aware that one of the guys in that crowd had an M80, which was like an oversized cherry bomb. I mean, that's a pretty hefty-duty fireworks, you know, firecracker thing. And he had it planned that he was going to stuff that fuse into a lit cigarette at the other end, you know, and and then the cigarette would burn down, and he could be long gone, and it would go off. Well, it did. It did. And he put it underneath of a toilet in the men's restroom on the 2nd floor of the school. And boy, that made one hell of it. Now, we're just upstairs on the 3rd floor, just really nearby. I think it was a civics class, something like that. The teacher was a former principal. He heard her, the whole building heard the noise. The hallways were filling up with administrators and such, you know, wondering about the explosion, and we all knew all about that, but in that classroom, everybody there knew exactly who had done it, because there was a lot of us watching it. I mean, not perpetrated, but, you know, and we're just in there too, and then that's going on, and then you see it, and you get on with the rest of everybody, you know. So there was a bunch of people saw this thing. So the principal, the former principal, the teacher of the civics class, he comes back in. He's like a year away from retirement. He's trying to choke back a grin a little bit. Well, he's reporting that there was some pretty serious damage done, and that this was quite a serious thing. He said the toilet was blown off of its spot. You see, now that's not something you want to have happen. That ain't good. So anyway, he looked around the classroom and he goes, I'm guessing that there's probably nobody in here that's got anything they want to tell me about. Am I right? Because of course, there's a code. You don't know there's a code. But there's a code. I think about this years later. Nobody in that room would have dared to have said anything to anybody. And I don't know what would have happened. You'd have been shunned till the end of the year or something, Yeah, you just wouldn't have dared to rat it on somebody. And that included even anybody in there that was like straight A student, and nobody's ratting on nobody. There was a code. I swear to God, we had 100 people in that graduating class, and there was a code. You didn't rat on anybody, because that's just how it was. So then that never got figured out or straightened out there, and to this day then, that was probably still an open incident there at the school. Now that was a long time ago. We're talking 55 years. First time I've ever said anything about it. So I'm sure we're well past, and I'm not going to say any names, Happened to have been there, but I did not do it. I saw it being done, but, I thought it was a little sketchy. And that's why I didn't do it. I wasn't going to do it. But I did see it done. Anyway, I don't think they're going to bother with it anymore now. But don't do that. And see, this is what happens when you have fireworks. July 4th, that's what brought the story up. Another story about July 4th. Now, he happened to have that. We were at the end of the school year, and I'm sure he had been preparing for 4th of July or whatever. We were seniors. This guy that perpetrated it, he had these things. Anyway, all right, I rambled on enough. Happy July 4th. And we'll see you on the next video. Take care.